Welcome to our very first season of Life on Track, where we help you get into the driver's seat of your own life, personally and professionally. I'm so excited about this. The reason why I started doing this is I wanted to bring the culture of love into this world again. During the pandemic, I asked, what's the creative opportunity here? There was so much chaos and confusion. So I decided to write a book. You guys know this, Work Love. And it's a fictional book about establishing a culture of love in the workplace and team building and synergy and all that kind of fun stuff. So with this show, it's all about utilizing the philosophy of that book, and also this book that I love since 1937. Well, it was written in 1937. I haven't loved it since 1937, since 1966, I guess, since I was born. But it's a great book, Think and Grow Rich, and I'm contributing into a 13 book series based on those incredible 13 principles in that book. So that's the 13 steps to riches. So there you go. That's what this show is really all about, really diving into the love and the 13 steps really that it takes to create a life personally and professionally that you will love, so that you're in the driver's seat, you're behind the wheel, life is no longer driving you personally and professionally. So I'm Erin Lay. I'm your host, and I can't wait to get into this because I love Teresa. Teresa Velardi is our guest today. She's incredible, and I'm going to read her bio because I do not want to leave anything out. She's extraordinary. Okay, so Teresa Velardi is an author, publisher, host of Conversations That Make a Difference podcast, writing and performance coach, and potter. Michelangelo, the famous 15th century artist and sculptor, has been quoted as saying, "Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. His job was to take away the excess stone to reveal the beauty within." Teresa uses the art of pottery making to illustrate that each ball of clay, with the touch of the potter's hand, can and will be transformed into a beautiful work of art. Through her coaching, Teresa guides her clients through the process of centering, molding, shaping, and walking through the fire past and present challenges to effect positive life change as they gracefully and powerfully embrace the work of art they already are. Teresa found her passion and purpose through life's challenges while trusting God's plan for her. Faith in God, gratitude, and giving are her heart. Her abilities as a writer, editor, publisher, and coach are vital ingredients she brings to those who choose to share their message with the world, either on her podcast or through her publishing platform. Her daily quiet time and writing practice keeps Teresa focused on her God-given purpose. As life unfolds in this ever-changing world, we all have a story to tell and a heartfelt message to share. Welcome to the show, Teresa.
Thank you, Erin. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm going to ask the first question. And the first question that I always ask in every interview is the same for every guest. And it's all I've loved learning, like how you got into doing what you're doing and why, because I love learning the purpose behind, why you're doing what you're doing.
That's a great question. So my publishing platform started when I was doing some compilation books for a company called Wake Up Women. And I was on my way to a conference with a speaker that I used to do some event management for. And she said to me, as I was managing this project over the phone, "What are you doing?" And I told her, and she says, "You need to make this a business." And before that, I had had a conversation with God. Let's say I was making pottery, and I said, "Is this all there is? Is this what you want me to do with my life? Just make beautiful vases and leave the world a better place that way?" And I clearly heard that I was to write that book from a ball of clay to a work of art. So I feel like my skills that were God-given are being used to not only transform my life, but to help other people transform theirs.
I love it, Teresa. I love it. I love it. And I know you well, and you are living fearlessly and full out. I do too. And I want you to speak into the joy, the inner peace, the love that comes with living fully and fearlessly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, there is so much joy. Life is so different for me now than it was when I was in a situation, in a relationship that was not good for me, that I knew was not good for me before I actually said I do at the altar, because I heard that little voice say, "Don't do this." First tip, pay attention to that little voice. You know, you could avoid yourself a lot of stress, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of problems that had you make a different decision, you might not have gone through. But I have learned how to honor myself through the experiences that I've had, and to live fully and fearlessly. I wasn't doing that when I was in that other situation. The minute that I moved myself from that space, some spark came alive in me, and I was able to tap into the joy of making pottery, the joy of writing every day and putting them together, not just for myself, but to make a difference in the lives of others. And that's what my podcast is all about, making a difference in the lives of other people.
And you do that, and you do it beautifully, beautifully. Living just fully and fearlessly. I, like you, I walked down the aisle too. And then I got divorced a few years ago. And after it was after the divorce that the living fully and fearlessly kicked in. You know, I did it back in the 90s with the cancer, but when you're married, and you know this, if everybody listening, you get caught up in the role of wife and mom, and I wouldn't change anything because it brought me to where I am today, and I have 3 incredible kids, you know, and that I love more than anything else on the planet. And you know, but when you do the work, you know, that Teresa teaches, and from listening to the show, when you do the personal work, the personal development work, it affects you personally, professionally, in ways that just transform everything.
Everything.
It negates all the negative stuff. So let's talk about faith. Faith over fear. That's huge.
Yeah. You know, there's been a lot of situations in my life where, you know, early on in this situation, I thought that from my upbringing, I thought that I was being punished for not listening at the altar. I thought that everything that happened to me was punishment for not listening, because that's what I was taught. God is a punishing God. And then when this is so funny, and I write about this, and you can get a copy of this. This is what I'm going to offer you at the end here, to get a free copy of a chapter that I wrote in a book that tells this particular story. But on one day when I was out for a walk after having a horrific night, I finally said, okay, God, because I wasn't going to God. I was afraid because of what I had lived with. And then I said, all right, if you're actually there, I need some sign that you're in my life. Now, back this up to the point that I was in a 12-step program to help me get through all the issues. And there was this woman who constantly shared about cardinals. When she sees a cardinal, she knows that God is near. And I was like, oh my Lord. And I literally said this woman is off her bird. No pun intended. That's what I said.
Pun intended.
So on this particular morning, I'm walking back home from my walk, and I said, okay, God, if you're there, I need to have a sign. And then I heard it. It was that distinctive sound of a red cardinal, and it was sitting in the maple tree in my front yard. And I literally did this. Very funny.
Joke over.
Joke over. So, and I almost felt a little giggle inside me, like, and I knew that, you know, God was there all the time, and I was the one who had moved away. But once I got into that space of living in faith, the fear that I was living in started to fall away. I started to make better decisions. I started to get my life together to the point where I could leave the situation that I was in, not just for myself, but for my son as well. So faith plays a huge part in my life. It has really kept me moving forward in a positive way, and the blessings that come are just ridiculously good. So
it's powerful.
yes.
Powerful. And you told me that you're now in ministry also. Faith is so powerful. I always say take a leap in faith, not take a leap of faith, take a leap in faith, enveloped in faith.
Yes.
Enveloped in it.
Yeah.
It's freeing on so many levels, like you said, from fear. Let's speak about that, how powerful that is, and your ministry, because I love what you do, Teresa.
Well, we all have a ministry. We all have a ministry. Whatever we do to bring to the world, to change it, is a ministry. My work with my clients is a ministry. My publishing company as a ministry, because I'm using the gifts that I was given in order to be able to make a difference. And the other thing is that I have been asked to work with a group of women who are helping people to break free from narcissistic and abusive relationships. And I never thought that God would put me in a place with faith-filled women to be able to help people in this way. My work takes me into business. It takes me into personal adventure, personal development and adventures for people to literally step out of what they were in. But I never thought for 1 minute that there would be retreats and things like that will come to fruition, because it's part of my purpose to be able to help other people break free from whatever has them bound in those situations. So, and your ministry is hearing these conversations and doing basically the same thing that I do, helping people grow their business, your writing, everything. I mean, there's so much that we're doing that's alike. It's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. And I want to connect you with a woman that I have in the Habitude Warrior Mastermind that I belong to. She does work with narcissists also, and I think you guys would be incredible together. So I'm going to introduce you off, when we're off the show.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of power. There's a lot of power. First of all, there's a lot of power in faith. There's a lot of power in gratitude when we're in the present moment in gratitude, as opposed to the present moment in fear and worry and lack and scarcity. I want to hear you speak into the power of gratitude in the present moment and positive thinking.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Gratitude is what drives me. Like, I'll tell you a story real quick. This will put it in perspective. A long time ago, I was talking to somebody who I was at their house, and this woman was complaining, screaming, carrying on. Nothing was right. Life sucked. Everything was wrong. And I said to her, stop. Tell me one thing you're grateful for. She said, I'm not grateful for anything. I said, oh, really? How about the air that you breathe? How about the fact that this man sitting across the table loves you, provides a home for you? How about your children? How about your grandchildren? I said it all in one breath. And she looked at me and I said, if you can't find at least 3 things every day that you're grateful for, you will stay in this space for the rest of your life and you will be miserable until the end. And she looked at me. And what gratitude does is it flips that switch and it finds goodness in every single moment of every single day. Now, this woman keeps a gratitude journal and is grateful for everything that comes her way. Some things may not be so fabulous, but if you stay in the space of being grateful for whatever will come through it, there will always be a blessing on the other side of it. No, I didn't want to go through the situation that I did in my life, but you know what? I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful to be where I am. I'm grateful that God saved me from a possible death. I'm grateful for all these things that come to me. And I'm grateful for this conversation, because if this changes somebody's life and they get up in the morning and they write down 3 things that they're grateful for, even one thing that they're grateful for, the day will be different.
Absolutely. And it could just be the little things like you're saying,
Exactly.
I mean, having a man love you and grandchildren, those are big things to be grateful for. And people go through an entire lifetime, like what you said, they complain life sucks and everybody else is lucky but me. But when you take control and you literally have your life on track and you have your hands on the wheel, of your life, as opposed to life driving you, everything changes.
Everything.
Really, really quick. When I was going through the divorce, financial hemorrhage, fear, lack, and scarcity. Now everything was, financially was on hold and a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to be grateful for, even if the kids dropped change on the steps going up to my bedrooms on the 2nd floor, I would pick it up a dime, a quarter. I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Like I'm 10 cents richer than I was 5 seconds ago. Thank you. But I knew gratitude is so powerful.
Yes.
I knew if I stayed in the fear, lack, and scarcity of what was being taken away from me, because rejection is God's protection. Then when I became grateful for even those little things, I'd get checks in the mail for a couple $1,000s from something that was being, refunded, or just money came out of the blue. And I scaled my business. I had stopped for a couple of years to focus on the family during that time. And I scaled my business to 6 figures in a year and a half from nothing. I started at ground zero all over again.
Yeah.
Just, a few years ago, and scaled it to 6 figures in a year and a half. Because I stayed focused on gratitude, to your point. Powerful Go
And
ahead.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that about the money, because so many people, especially today, I mean, let's face it, this world is a crazy place, and there's inflation is crazy and whatnot, and people are concerned about finances and whatnot. But saying you're thankful for even that little penny
Right.
opens the door for God to say, is for you to say, you're basically saying to God, thank you. I would like more of that, please. And you just, what you just said now is a shining example of how it happens. And Think and Grow Rich teaches that, right? Think and Grow
Yes.
Rich teaches that, and the Science of Getting Rich teaches that.
Love
So
Wallace D. Waddles.
yes,
That
yes,
book.
yes, absolutely. Love that book. Love that book.
Let's talk about money for a second, because again, with Life on Track, personally and professionally, I want people to realize there's an abundance out there for all of us, even during the worst of the worst of the worst times. And we're gonna get into talking about finding the good through the trials, through the trying times. But there's an abundance for every single person,
Mhm.
and so can you speak into that? So that people are not like, oh, money's the root of all evil. No, it's not. Love money, because money's energy. The way you treat money is the way money's going to treat you. And again, I'd love for you to speak into the whole abundance mindset.
So there's two things I can give you that will help you to do this. First thing I want you to think about is picking up a handful of sand and holding it tight, right? Holding it tight. Nothing goes in and nothing comes out. So if you're holding on to your money tight, tight, tight with the fear that there won't be enough, you can't get anything in there either. There's nothing. When you open your hand and the sand flows out, it gives room for more to come in. So living life with an open hand. Recently somebody said was in a position that they needed some support financially, and thank you God, I was able to help. But this person is someone also who tends to live with a closed fist. So I've learned that if you open your hands, you make room for good things to come in. There's also the second thing that I want to turn you on to is a little video by Steve Harvey. You can find it on YouTube. It's called Faith Street. So, and it basically, the short story is that someone goes to heaven and they meet St. Peter at the gate, and he's walking down the hall one day and he sees all these rooms with names on them. And he goes, what is this? Oh, don't worry about that. You don't need that now. And he literally goes inside and sees all these boxes of stuff that had the people's names on them. And he sees a door with his name on it. And he asks, what is this? He says, these are all the gifts that God had for you, but you just didn't ask. So the moral of the story is, if you need something, if you feel you want something, I believe God wants to give us the desires of our hearts. Tell him, because somehow, some way, as you discovered with checks coming in the mail that you didn't expect, which I experience on a regular basis, with whatever it is that people give me. This morning, somebody snow blew my driveway this morning, and I didn't ask for that.
Oh,
There's this beautiful stuff, and just saying thank you and remembering that there are people out there who do good things for you as well, and they'll show up out of nowhere. So
yes.
that's the gratitude piece, and the having faith, and living abundantly with an open heart, open hand, open heart. And when you need something, when you want something, ask, because sooner or later it will come to you.
Yes. And there's abundance of everything in addition to money,
Mhm,
health, relationships, quality
mhm,
relationships.
mhm,
Abundance is everywhere,
mhm,
and success. And I would love to speak about this also. Success, a lot of people think that success is just defined by money, and what you're receiving. I believe success is the full package, because many people think that if somebody's making a lot of money, they're wildly successful. I know
mhm.
plenty of millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires that are very unhappy, very, very
Miserable.
unhappy. And so that to me does not define success.
Mhm.
Because then they're coming home and they're making everybody else miserable in the house, that's not success. But can you speak into how success is defined on a much higher scale than just financials?
Yeah. Well, abundance, I have a program called 5-Star Abundance, and it's really not just about money. but one flows into the other. So depending on your attitude, like you just said, if you're miserable, you're going home and making your family miserable too. And this, it just flows into everything. Your relationships at work, your relationships at home. If you find happiness and joy and you are feeling fulfilled because you are using your gifts and talents, and going to work every day doesn't seem like work. It seems like, well, just like I'm having fun with whatever it is I'm doing, whether it's writing, whether it's helping somebody get their book published. Children's books are so much fun to work on, so much fun. And so, but if I'm not having fun, I'm not doing it. And that joy, and with my work and the relationships that I have, spills over into everything. And then all goodness flows. It's a cyclical thing. What you bring to the table will spread itself around. So what you put out into the world, you will get back. All these cliche little statements, they're all true.
Yes.
They're all true.
And that's the law of reciprocity. First of all, let me just go back for a second, because you said my mantra. My mantra for 2021, 2020 and 2021 was, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it.
There you go.
You get to a certain point in life, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. And
exactly.
To me, I love what I do. So it is like you, Tree. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah. Getting to spend time with you, having these conversations is fun. I love this.
Yes, me too.
And we're, our heart is, we want to help everybody around the world, enjoy their life just as much also, yes. Like, have fun. Exactly. And monetize your God-given gifts. It's okay.
Yeah.
I really also believe that that's what God wants us to do, to create.
Exactly. We all came here with something. There are people that do things a heck of a lot better than I do, but there are some things that I do a heck of a lot better than somebody else. And there's no, and let there be no judgment on yourself or anyone else for someone that, for something that you don't have the capabilities of doing and somebody else does. That's how we do that. If God meant for us to do everything ourselves, we'd be on this planet alone. And how lonely.
Yes. And that's why I love my assistant Thomas, because he handles all of my tech stuff. He built out my car trial. Like he marketing, like that's his zone of genius. You know? And he does a phenomenal job, and he's great at what he does. But I love Thomas because not my, I tried, and I'm sure everybody tries at doing different things, but yes, delegation is a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
And then you can stay focused. Yes, and you can stay focused on your zone of genius while somebody else is taking care of what will take up time away from you doing what you love to do.
Exactly.
So the trials, the time that we're in the valley, I would love for you to speak into, the good that comes out of those times, those trying times. Excuse me.
There's a phrase that I use all the time. If you don't use it, I suggest you adopt it and feel it in your heart, feel it through your body, because it will make things a lot easier. It's a few words. This too shall pass. Regardless of what's before you, it will pass. It will change. The one thing that is constant in our life is change. This world is so much different today than it was even 2 years ago. And it was so much different then than it was so many years before that. And it will be different today. It will be different tomorrow and the next day. Time stops for no one. How you show up in time in any given moment is your responsibility. You can't complain if you're not showing up with recognition that this moment is just that, this moment, and this too shall pass, regardless of what's in it. If it's tragic for the moment, it will pass. If it's beautiful for the moment, it will pass. But you can embrace the things that feel wonderful to you. I say something when I'm on my show, when I start my show, it's on my whiteboard, and it goes something like this: today, and then I bring this attitude into every day. So today, I am fabulous, blessed, and highly favored, living in my greatness with passion and purpose, using my gifts and talents, making a difference in the lives of others, and all of God's great universe is conspiring in my favor. Starting my day with that, how could anything go wrong?
I love that. You have to text that to me, Teresa. I love that. I absolutely love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And you live the law of reciprocity.
Yeah.
You are such a heart-centered person and you're constantly giving. And that's why so much comes to you, with it's so funny how so many people believe in the law of gravity because they know if you jump, you go down, it's just that everything hits the ground. But they don't understand so many people don't understand the law of
Yeah.
reciprocity.
Yeah.
They don't want to buy into the law of attraction. And there's so many laws, the law of gestation, there's a time period for everything. But when we're in the valley, those are where the best lessons are learned.
Yeah.
When we're down and out, there's so many amazing lessons being learned. So it's not for nothing. And I want everybody to hear that. Pain and suffering is never for nothing, because
Yeah.
there's so many lessons. As long as you're persistent and you don't quit and you push through, to get to the other side and overcome,
Yeah.
the next mountaintop is so much higher. It's
I
so
know.
much higher and it's so much better because we spend time in the valley and we learn the lessons, which
Yeah.
is important.
You also have to remember though, I read something yesterday and I wrote it down specifically for this conversation because I have no idea who wrote this. It was on Facebook. Somebody posted it and they borrowed it from somebody else. And this is what it said: surviving your output situation did not make you a better person. Going through trauma did not make you grow. It took away your joy and your trust. It almost killed you, and it shouldn't have happened. If you grew or bloomed afterward, it was despite your situation or your circumstance, and it was because you are strong and you are amazing. So, we have to remember that we are not our situations, regardless of what they are, whether you lost all your money, whether your marriage went down the tubes, whether you suffered something, physically, whatever the situation is. Yeah, it was painful. And yes, we did learn lessons. And yes, you lost yourself for a minute, but you have to remember, God does not make junk. Does not make junk. And we are here strong and amazing with gifts and talents and an ability to make a difference in this world. We're supposed to make it more beautiful when we leave. It should be more beautiful when we leave it than it was before we came. And that doesn't necessarily mean leaving things. Have you made a difference in the life of a friend? Do you have friends who you can count on, who can count on you? All these different things make for a beautiful life. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love it. And when we're under pressure, excuse me, when we're in the valley, it really tests the resolve of who am I?
Mm-hmm.
Who am I really?
Mm-hmm.
When we're squeezed, like they say, you squeeze an apple juice comes out. You squeeze a lemon juice comes out. When we're squeezed, what comes out? Is it anger? Is it yelling? Is it frustration? Is it worry? Or is it solution oriented? Is it optimism? Is it hope? Is it faith? What comes out? Enthusiasm, getting creative. When we're squeezed, I want everybody listening and watching, when you're under pressure, like a diamond, in the coal, what comes out when you're squeezed personally and professionally? Like if you're at work and something doesn't go well, if something goes wrong, how do you handle it? How do you handle the people around you? Do you handle it with love and respect, or do you go to yelling and all of the negative, low vibe kind of reactions? I love that you said that.
Yeah, and and remember this sentence too. I got borrowed these from somebody. I don't know who said them all the time. I'm sure the author of them. If I Google every one of them on the internet, I'll find them. But how you do anything is how you do everything, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I know you know that, and you live by that too. So, it's you only have one go round.
Yeah.
In this life.
Yeah.
Why not make it the best? Why not get it, as you say, on track?
Yeah.
And why not let it make a difference, not just for yourself, but for the people around you, for the community that you live in, for the world as a whole. I believe in the thing called the butterfly effect. I believe in the butterfly effect. When a butterfly flaps its wings, it affects everything on the other side of the earth as well. Yeah. So, we're all connected. I believe we're all connected through through consciousness. If we, the conscious what is it? Creative consciousness, I guess it's called. I don't know. But anyhow, when I need those words, they usually come to me. Sometimes they don't.
But I agree.
My head is filled with so many things that I want to say because I have learned so much on this journey, and I would not have learned it had I not stepped away from that situation that I spoke of earlier, my marriage and whatnot. And the same thing. I had what I call a come to Jesus moment where I looked myself in the mirror, and it came up because I think you said this a minute ago. Who am I and why am I here?
Yeah.
And I had to ask that question from two perspectives. Who am I in this situation and why am I still here was really the question. But who am I universally? What was I created to do and why did God put me here at this time? So big questions to answer, but you can't answer them looking around at everybody else. You got to go within. You got to go inside and figure it all out. So, and that's the only way you get your life on track, right, Erin?
Yes, and that's where happiness is derived.
Yes.
From inside. Nobody else on the planet can make us happy.
Exactly.
They can add to our happiness, and if they take away from it, that's still our fault because we allowed it. You know what I mean? Like, but it's created from the inside. And I firmly believe when you're living by the golden rule and you have your hand out to help, in service of others, I think that's how so many people can find out. They're confused with, the isolation and the pandemic and everything going on outside. If you don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life, or if you're not sure, just have your hand out in service to others and see, in different ways, and just see what makes you feel good, because whatever makes you feel good is in line with who you really are.
Yes.
We're feeling beings, right, Teresa? We're feeling beings. And when we stop and really tune into what we're feeling, we'll know if we're on track or off track. But I want to get into your free gift. I love this.
Yeah.
So you have the Courage is Fear That Said Its Prayers. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yes.
So go ahead. Tell us about that and how they can get it.
It's basically what we've been talking about, part of the story that, having that come to Jesus moment. Who are you and why are you here? Looking yourself in the mirror and trying to figure that out. And that's where I was. And when I had that particular moment, things started to change for me. And the story about the Cardinal, part about the Cardinal is in there. And how, we really need to take responsibility for this life that we've been given. And we are meant to live it in joy. We are not meant to live it in pain. I don't believe, yes, painful things will happen. Yes, stuff, but this too shall pass. And, the story goes through a lot of it. And it's a chapter that I wrote in one of the anthology books and many anthology books that I've been part of. But it's so relative to this moment. So if you have anything in your life where you feel that's fear, that fear is taking over you, you can flip that to courage. Susan Jeffers said, feel the fear and do it anyway. And there were many times in my life where I would do that, when I had to go to court, when I had to do all kinds of things that were not pleasant whatsoever. But I always knew that I had heavenly powers, spiritual powers watching over me, because I believe that God watches over each one of us, not just the babies in the crib. God watches over us as we grow up into adults, and he's with us for our entire life. And that's where my faith comes into play, so that I could do things like write this story out fearlessly, because God, I used to not want to talk about it, because what if he, my ex, hears that I'm talking about this stuff? Well, I know that he twists everything to begin with.
Well,
it's so what? So what? If I went through it, and I have come through it, it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to share it with someone else who might be suffering.
You're speaking your truth.
Yes,
and
exactly.
You're speaking your truth, not to just for a pound of flesh or to feel vindicated. Like, who cares about that stuff? You're speaking your truth to help other people in that situation.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when you get that, you'll also get information on the retreat that we talked about earlier. That's going to be taking place in July. There is a way for you to get the information. It's called Freedom Reigns Retreat. And there is, when you get your Courage the Sphere that said its prayers, there will be information where you can click through and learn all about what's happening that weekend as well. So I hope it helps just even one person. My heart will be singing.
Yes, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. I know
Yes.
you, and you. That's what you do. You're always helping people constantly on a daily basis. You're amazing. So, how can people get in touch with you? And is there anything on your heart that we didn't discuss that you'd like to share?
What's really on my heart is just, as much as you hear that's going on in the world, do yourself a favor, turn the television off, get yourself into something that's going to make you feel good. Read the books, read Erin's book, read this story, read whatever is going to light you up and fill you up, rather than bring you to darkness and take you down, because that's not where we're supposed to be living. We're supposed to be living in light. So that's my final word, really,
Powerful.
for this. And we'll continue this when you come on my show, Conversations That Make a Difference. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. How can people get in touch with you? Is it the
you can just go to teresavelardi.com, or you can email me at teresavelardi@gmail.com.
Okay, terrific. You are incredible. And really, it's first the courage, then the confidence, right?
Yeah.
Like, the more for everybody listening, the more you do something and you have the courage to step and take that leap in faith, enveloped in faith, and you just be courageous enough just to try and just go out and strive. Try is such a heavy word. I like strive. Strive to do it.
Strive.
And
Yeah.
Before you know it, you're getting more and more confident. And
confidence comes with repetition. It comes with repetition. Yeah.
Yes. And fear and excitement feel exactly the same. The internal physiological reactions are the same. So why not be excited? Tell yourself, I'm excited about this, instead of I'm afraid, and get excited.
Yeah.
I can talk to you forever. So we'll have fun. You are so good. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Teresa Velardi. You've been a massive asset to this TV series, this Life on Track TV series and podcast. And for more information and insight on how you guys can get your life on track, I'm airing this every Monday. So stay tuned each Monday, and it will also air on all my social media, on all of the Apple TV and Amazon Prime and Roku, like all the big channels, and the podcasts like Spotify. And you can go to lifeontrack.tv, where you can download the copy of Work Love, a free copy for showing up here as well. And this has just been absolutely amazing. I love you, Teresa. I look forward to seeing you again. All right, everybody, stay tuned each Monday as my guests and I bring you more information and insight on how you can get your life on track. Have a magnificent day, everyone. And always remember to live onward and upward. Love you.